Leaders shape the world we live in and who we are through their example, their actions, and their inspiration. Perhaps our most powerful leaders teach us to lead through service to others, self-sacrifice, and a commitment to empowering our future generations. They motivate us to leave something greater than ourselves and to make an impact.
I got involved with the Joe Daviess Conservation Foundation really through some projects working together with the group. Gateway Park, the Buehler Preserve, extending the bike path to the Buehler Preserve, planning for the bike path to eventually get to the Casper Preserve. Working on Gateway is really where we spent a lot of our time, envisioning that process, lining up resources, and really making that project happen. And it's probably the most exciting thing that I've been involved in recent years. Making projects like Gateway happen is extremely challenging from the financial side. And if not for partnerships like the City of Galena and the Conservation Foundation, I don't think they would happen. And working together, we've been able to leverage the resources of each, both staff and access to funding through grants, some of which are only available to the City of Galena, some of which are really only available to the Conservation Foundation, in particular private foundation money and donor funding. And we've had great success, again, Gateway being the example, but it's going to be challenging in the future to continue that. It's going to be challenging to maintain these projects as open areas that are accessible for the public. So I think if anything, we all need to be diligent and really seek out even more funding for the future. And it's going to take all of us in the community as well as donors to make this happen.
Camp Casper, the impact that it's having on the youth is giving them an experience that they probably are not getting in a classroom. You know, a one-day field trip is fun and exciting, but I don't think that gives them the same experience that Camp Casper does. I think it's just an experience that they'll always remember. I thought it was important for Galena State Bank to support Camp Casper because of the partnership that we already have with the Conservation Foundation. And I think it's a great way to teach kids about the natural resources that are available in this area and what the Conservation Foundation is doing to preserve and save those natural resources for them. Joe Daviess Conservation Foundation, it's about preserving our land and the natural resources that we have available to us. And if we didn't have an organization like that, who would do it? Who would do it?
My favorite thing to do outdoors is to come down to Wapello and walk the trails. We have the Wapello Walkers here once a week, and it's a group of women that come down, and we walk the trails for about an hour. The tranquility of it, the beauty of it, it's by the river, the flowers in the fall, it's gorgeous. It's just peaceful. What made me get involved with Wapello was the possibility that it would bring different businesses to Hanover to begin with. That was my first reasoning. And then secondly, I never in my wildest dreams did I think it would bring something like the Field Museum to Hanover. Having the Field Museum here has brought business not only to our main street, but to every aspect of Hanover. The community, it has just been uplifted by the Field Museum scientists. In fact, Jim Louderman, the head of it, is quite the rock star with the children to the adults. To see our mayor mowing out here, mowing trails for free, and just seeing how our town board is behind it, our chamber's behind it, our church leaders are behind it, our park district is behind it. Everyone feels that this is the best thing to hit Hanover. what the JDCF has brought to our community is priceless. We're just beyond grateful.
Gordon and I are interested in history and the history of this area. When we first moved here, our connection with Joe Daviess began because Gordon was very interested in any sort of thing that would get him outdoors and hiking perhaps and learning about various beautiful spots that might be around us. So he began to look into Joe Daviess Conservation Foundation. And that started it all. We became members. We had 3 little girls, and Gordon loved that because he grew up with 2 brothers. And he was charmed by these little girls who loved him so much, you know. And then finally we had Scott. And that completed our 4 very beautifully.
I think a lot of people think of leadership in classic business terms, and we talked a lot about that at the business table. I mean, I was a child, again, born in 1954, when women were destined to be teachers, nurses, mothers. We weren't raised that way. Dad expected us girls to be surgeons or captains of industry, to win the Nobel Prize or Pulitzer or whatever. So we talked a lot about team building and goal setting and defining a mission and those classic ideas of leadership. But I think just as equally, Dad emphasized generosity of spirit and having your heart in the right place. It's impossible when one loses a parent to think of anything you can do that will be appropriate and big enough to have them last, you know, into the future. It just was important to us, being our father's children, that whatever we did to honor Dad, it would be lasting and it would benefit generations to come. That just was the only thing that seemed right. He talked so often of the mounds and Horseshoe Mound and going up there and being able to see forever. And it fired his imagination, not just for the view, but for everything one could glean from that view. The river and its role in transportation and commerce, the geology and its ancient history back to the dawn of time. Dad could picture, dinosaurs and Indians and all that had come before him. The wildlife that one might get a glimpse of, the beautiful hawks soaring on the different air currents, and of course looking down on Galena and seeing a beautiful town with such an interesting history, you know, being bypassed by the railroad and frozen in time and just pristinely preserved, which was always very special to him. So we felt that being able to open Horseshoe Mound for others to come up with a diorama or some sort of narrative explaining to them what they see or might not know they are seeing. To continue Dad's tutorial that he used to give at the side of the trail just seemed appropriate. And I think he'd be very pleased that it's saved to be shared with everyone.
For JDCF to open up this field of dreams for us called Wapello, it is so gratifying to think that we have something so significantly positive in our backyard. It's just been a beautiful endeavor for everyone involved in Hanover.
The Conservation Foundation and the City of Galena really share a vision of sustainability. We are both interested in protecting, preserving land, making that land accessible to the public, which is really one of the core tenets of sustainability, making it available for not just us and our current generation, but for all the generations in the future.
I know Dad would have said, you have something to give. Give something small, give something large, give according to your ability to give, whether it's time, whether it's money. But there's so much strength in numbers, and there's so much power in team to be more impactful than a single person. Whatever you do is lasting. Whatever you do is lasting. For the Conservation Foundation, for a child born 100 years from now, to see nature as we've enjoyed it and not corrupted or deteriorated in any way. How can you put a price on that?
We believe in what you're doing. It's important to us that this go on and on.
Together, we can lead the way in conservation today, tomorrow, forever.